Good morning. Welcome to this beautiful reality coexistence, to be together, to be and think that yes, we are here and we are still alive. Well, you know,
Forever
this
young.
is the fundamental question. Until when I'm going to live? That's what I'm saying. No? And I'm so glad Jacob is here, Sayed is here, all my friends, Jenny and Denis with one N, the French one, is here. So, and well, welcome, thank you, and I want also to welcome. I don't deserve so much.
You don't get that much.
Oh, good morning. What a beautiful day we have. Thank you for coming here, accepting our invitation, Dr. Brenes. We have got a very engaged and active group of people here. We are all retired, but still we like to know more about different things. And as our president mentioned, we have a very active programming throughout the year, discussions and speakers and so on. So a few words about her background. She has been rather an assistant professor over at K-State University, as you can see here, in the School of Health Science. And her specialty is nutrition for life, right? And basically everything related to aging and human health. She has wide experience in these areas. Before joining K-State in 2014, she was working at University of Colorado at Pueblo, Colorado, and she was teaching the same kind of subjects, and also she was involved in the faculty senate there, served as a secretary. So she has quite some experience in different areas, and what the topic is about, I don't know anything, but she will explain us what it is. Welcome here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm using the mic. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. I always like to use mics because my voice is very soft, so it doesn't carry as much as other voices. So I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I know that last year I could not make it to your meeting, but I'm glad that this year I could. I'm very grateful. And as Sayed mentioned, I work at K-State. Previously, I started at K-State in the position of extension assistant professor in 2023. Previous to that, I was it was mentioned before, in Colorado State University in the School of Health Science as well, teaching there. But now my position is more related to community teaching and putting more community programming and transferring or translating the research that happens in the university to community programs so that extension agents, that's how we call them in Kansas, they can teach some of this research to people. So I was invited today to talk about gut health and aging. So here is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what the gut microbiome is, probiotics and prebiotics, gut health and aging, and what are the relationships. And then we're going to have a little activity of label reading on probiotics. I think that's always fun. All right, before I start with, talking and everything, I just want to know, what do you all know about gut microbiome? Or when you hear that word, what comes to your mind?
Eat yogurt.
Yeah.
Eat yogurt.
He knows. Jacob. You know.
I know it's an ecology of bacteria and fungi in your body that if you don't have them, all the food that you take in basically flushes through because you can't absorb it.
Okay, all right, yes.
And it's not considered to be like a separate system. Like you have a circulatory system, a pulmonary system. The gut microbiome is not considered in the same elevation in terms of physiology.
Yes, yes.
I'm hearing more and more how important it is for your overall health. I had not heard of the gut microbiome until within the last last few years.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Obviously, in almost every organ you have a microbiome. The gut is supposedly important, actually very important, because of the so-called leakage of things from the gut to inside into the overall circulation. Therefore, I think the gut microbiome has become a big area of study in the last few years. So I think the microbiome, and when you say microbiome, you really think of the whole, because even the brain has microbiome, the muscles have microbiome. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm
Absolutely. I love all these answers. And yes, lately it's been like a boom, like in investigation and research, because more and more that researchers discover and study this, they realize all the connections it has to health, to chronic disease, to aging, to inflammation. So that's what we're gonna talk a little bit about today. So we have trillions of microbes living on our skin, on our body, and in our body as well. At any time, it's equal to about the same number of your human cells. So like some people say like, are we microbes or are we humans, right? But we're humans. We just have a lot of microbes living in ourselves. These microbes usually live in harmony with one another and with our bodies, and often provide beneficial support, but sometimes may be harmful when there is an imbalance between them. And the highest concentration of microbes can be found in the gut. And how do we acquire these microbes in our gut or throughout our body? It starts when we are in our mother's womb with the amniotic fluid, and then depending on how our mothers gave birth, whether it was a C-section or a vaginal birth, that will change the microbiome or like microbiota we have on ourselves. And then the first 1,000 days, from like when we're born to about 2 years old, these are critical years to be exposed to the environment, to be exposed to different foods. So it will define how our gut microbiome or gut microbiota will be. And then in adulthood, it doesn't change as much, and if it changes, it's more so like we are decreasing, or like we have less variability in the species that we have. Like if we follow certain different types of diets that we're going to talk about later today. But mainly during our first years of life, most of them, get established in our cells. Have you ever heard about the gut-brain axis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and what have you heard about it?
There is microorganisms in your gut that influence what goes on in your brain,
Yes, yes.
And vice versa.
and vice versa.
And vice versa. Yes. So our brain sends messages throughout our whole body. Part of that goes to our gut, like it needs to move the food, and release chemicals for the food to get absorbed, and maintain this microbial balance. But just as the brain sends messages to the gut, then that microbiota, all those chemicals that it releases, can also send messages to the brain and to different parts of the body, because it can influence neurotransmitters that relate to stress, to anxiety, to depression, to mood or behavior. And that's one of the reasons that it says like, oh, there's a gut-brain axis, especially with some diseases like Parkinson's disease. Like that's been a big field of study in Parkinson's, because there is a great connection between the gut and the brain and the disease. Okay, so now probiotics and prebiotics. What can you all tell me about it? What do you know?
The prebiotics are coming before probiotics.
Okay, good. Good assessment there, yes?
Well, I think one of them is to help support the microorganisms. So you're providing nutrition that's targeted towards the microorganisms. And I think the other may be the microorganism. I don't remember which is which.
Okay.
And you have, there is now available over-the-counter prebiotics and they have prebiotics, probiotics, and then postbiotics
Yes.
that you can actually take to maintain your gut health, because obviously that's associated with inflammation or inflammatory processes in the whole organism.
Yeah, you should be here with me talking about this. Yes, absolutely.
Told you we know.
Yeah. Should have taken another topic. Okay, great. That's a great answer. So, probiotics are the live bacteria. So, these are live microorganisms intended to have health benefits when you consume them, whether that is through food or through the supplements that you mentioned before. Probiotics may contain a variety of microorganisms, so depending on the foods that we eat, we may have different strains or different variability of the probiotics that we are consuming, but they usually help the body maintain a healthy community of microorganisms. And it can also help the body return to a healthy condition. For example, when we are sick and we take antibiotics, they kill, like the bacteria or the microbes that are causing our illness or our disease, but they also kill the good bacteria. It's not like they're just targeted to just the specific, especially if it's like a broad spectrum antibiotic. So you can ask your doctor if you ever go on antibiotics, what foods will he or she recommend, that you take with that specific antibiotic or after the antibiotic, because probiotics will help return your gut to a better balance after antibiotics. They also produce substances that have desirable effects, and that's where symbiotics come into play, because as Orisa said, we have probiotics, prebiotics, symbiotics, and postbiotics. Postbiotics are supplements that contain some of these substances that the probiotics make in the supplement form. And all of these probiotics have the capacity to influence your body's immune response, and we're gonna see in a little bit how. So sorry. Forget you saw that slide. In food, besides supplements, because today I'm gonna focus more on foods, because supplements, they have their own, it will be a whole different talk. Whether they're regulated, what to look in a supplement, that. It's its own topic in itself to find the right probiotic. But thinking about food, what foods do you think contain probiotics, the live bacteria? Yogurt, yes.
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut, yogurt.
Beer.
Some
Some.
beer.
Kimchi, I think.
Kimchi, yes. All right. So probiotics are usually found in fermented foods. So beer can be a fermented food too. So sauerkraut, sourdough, yogurt, kimchi that you all mentioned, kefir. Now we have milk kefir, but we also have water kefir. We have kombucha. Have anybody here tried kombucha? It's like the fermented tea. Yes. Tempeh, miso, natto. These are usually based on soy. And then tepache is it's similar to kombucha but made with fruits. And then curtido is similar to sauerkraut, but it has other vegetables in it. And then I don't know if you've seen these Yakult type of little drinks. They're mainly like the Korean version of maybe something like kefir. That's what, how I relate them in my mind. But usually these types of drinks, they come from Korea or Japan or Asia. So all of these will contain these probiotics, these live bacteria. So that means that when we eat them, then that bacteria starts colonizing our gut, ideally. Now we have prebiotics. So just as we eat, right, and drink water and liquids to stay alive as part of ourselves, probiotics also need food, but not all food will help probiotics. Okay, so prebiotics, like somebody said here, is what comes first. Is like the food, like for the microorganisms to thrive. Now, all prebiotics are dietary fibers. So when we talk about, we need to include more fiber in our diet, some of that fiber will come and feed the good gut microbes in your gut. But not all of those fibers will be the ideal food. Some of those fibers are not absorbed by our bodies, or they are not eaten by these microorganisms. Prebiotics promote the growth of healthy gut bacteria and are crucial to consume in your diet every day, because gut bacteria, their life cycle is not as long, so we need to keep them thriving all the time. So that's why it's important to consume fresh fruits and vegetables and these fibers every day. Dietary fiber has been shown to reduce obesity, cardiovascular disease, and can help regulate blood sugar. And in a little bit, we're gonna see an image here on how that can happen. But it is fiber that helps with these conditions, but also those probiotics that are feeding from the dietary fiber that help us stay healthy in our gut. And fiber is also an indigestible carbohydrate necessary for gut microbiota to survive and thrive. So as I said before, fruits and vegetables are key to our diet and to maintain this good, healthy, this good beneficial microbiota. Nuts and seeds, legumes, and so this is any type of bean, red beans, black beans, kidney beans, white beans, garbanzo beans, peas, any type of legume. We have beans here, whole grains, corn, barley, buckwheat, wild rice, triticale, and breast milk also has, I'm not saying anybody here needs to drink breast milk, but just for our knowledge, babies get a lot of their prebiotics through breast milk as well. Okay, so in research, they've studied different types of, or groups of people that have different types of diets. And they've discovered that the Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet, the vegetarian diet, these diets help maintain that good gut microorganisms. So they help, these three diets at the top, they actually help with good gut health. And if you see here in the pictures, they have in these diets, what stands out to you? What do they all have in common?
Fresh foods.
Fresh fruits, yes. Fresh fruits and vegetables, legumes here, some of the whole grains on that one. And then when we compare that to maybe a Western diet or a Mediterranean diet, this is the one at the bottom here, what can we compare there? What are the differences?
Processed foods.
Processed foods,
Highly processed.
highly processed,
Sugary.
sugary,
A lot of meat and protein.
a lot of meat and protein. And what is missing from these pictures here? From this picture here?
French fries.
From all of this. This bubble. Fish. So what about this one?
Fruits and vegetables.
Yeah. So because the Western diet, like as you all mentioned, is really high in processed foods or highly processed foods, really high in saturated fat, really high in red meats. And it's very low in whole grains, fruits and vegetables. So those two, like whole grains, fruits and vegetables, contain those fibers that will help our gut microbiome stay healthy. So traditional Western diets have been linked to a higher rates of chronic disease and mental health issues, as you said before, characterized by processed foods, simple carbohydrates, or like added sugars, like in sodas, beverages. The Mediterranean diet includes more fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds. These diets, Mediterranean, the DASH diet, I don't know if anybody have heard of that, but that diet is specific for people who have hypertension or like any type of cardiovascular issue. So those and the vegan diet are rich in fiber, antioxidants, and essential nutrients. And the Western diets are much lower in fiber, and the average US adult has an intake of fiber between 10 to 15 grams a day, and we should have between 25 to 30, depending on our age and our gender, grams of fiber intake. So sometimes we're not even meeting half of the recommendation of those fibers. And when we don't meet, or like we don't have enough fibers, dietary fiber, those good health, like the beneficial gut bacteria, they start to decrease, like they start to die. They don't reproduce. But you know which ones do reproduce and start to thrive? Like the harmful ones, yes, because they thrive in a diet that is high in red meats and saturated fat and sugar, because that's the food that they mainly prefer. Okay, so how does gut health relate to aging? Have you ever heard of the word dysbiosis? No, okay. So we have beneficial bacteria, we have some bacteria that is not either one, like it's not beneficial or harmful, it's just there. And then we have harmful bacteria. When we have dysbiosis, this means that we have less of that beneficial bacteria and more of the harmful bacteria. So here we have this picture here. When we have a healthy gut, meaning that we have a balance between beneficial bacteria and harmful bacteria, and we are healthy in our gut. Gut inflammation decreases, it improves lipid metabolism, or like how we absorb fats from our diet, how those are processed in our bodies. It increases antioxidant production, so antioxidants help cells decrease oxidative stress. It helps our bodies decrease inflammation. These good beneficial bacteria produce something that's called short-chain fatty acids. And it's a long name, short-chain fatty acids. But these chemicals are very important, and I'm going to explain in the next one why these are so crucial for our health. It decreases the risk of infections thanks to these short-chain fatty acids, and it improves insulin sensitivity. So if somebody has, for example, prediabetes or diabetes, they may be insulin resistant, so the healthier their gut is, it will help them utilize their insulin better. So insulin is like the key that opens the door to the cell so that the sugar can come into the cell and can be utilized. But when we have dysbiosis, meaning that we have more harmful bacteria than beneficial bacteria, then we have all the opposite from that, right? We have gut inflammation, our risk for cardiovascular disease increases, we have less production of short-chain fatty acids, risk of infection increases, and it increases insulin resistance. So it actually doesn't help us regulate that blood glucose. And here is why. So this first picture here has our cells, and then that pink at the top is a mucosal layer, and the green part, think about it, is where your food is, okay? So we have pathogenic bacteria there, bacteria that is maybe harmful, that we don't want in our blood, or getting inside other parts of our bodies because they may get us sick. So when we have a good balance of beneficial bacteria and harmful bacteria, that mucosal layer is thick. Why? Because the beneficial gut bacteria produce these short-chain fatty acids that help that mucosa grow, like stay healthy, stay thick. So imagine if you want to air your house, right? What do? You open the window, okay. And what if you do not want the leaves, the squirrels, the opossum coming into your window? What do? You have a screen, yes, right? So it lets the air that you want in, but then the other things that you don't want, that may be harmful, carry disease, you want them out. So think about the mucosa as a screen from a window, right? It lets some things in to your bloodstream, but then it keeps other things out, all right? And we want that mucosa to be strong, and short-chain fatty acids help us with that. But when we have dysbiosis and that mucosa is not as strong as it can be, some of these not beneficial bacteria can come through and can harm our cells and can cause more inflammation and can make us sick. Yes?
Is this almost, when I look at the right-hand side, it reminds me of leaky gut syndrome.
Yes.
Is that what you think that, yeah?
Yes.
And so you laid the foundation that with the Western type of diet and the microbiota dysbiosis, this is a mechanism by which leaky gut syndrome can occur, I guess. I bring this out because leaky gut has been very controversial in nutrition programs throughout the United States for years, for generations, especially when it comes to things like autism and things like that. And a lot of times these people were considered on the fringe of science. But now, the balance seems to be shifting. The leaky gut syndrome seems to be real. Is that correct?
Yeah, from what I've read, this is what, when they describe leaky gut and they're talking about it, these are the types of pictures that show up.
Okay.
The disruption in the mucosal layer, and then, things filtering through these cells going into the rest of your body. So yeah, that's like, from the papers I've read, this is a mechanism that they describe for leaky gut. The erosion of that mucosal layer. Absolutely, yes.
When you're talking about the gut, are you talking mostly about the colon then? The large intestine?
Yes,
So-
because the other one, the small intestine usually makes more and tries to break down. And might be some absorption that happens there, but most of the absorption of these nutrients
So-
happen in the large intestine.
You find fewer bacteria or microorganisms in the small intestine, right? Compared to the large intestine? And even fewer in the stomach, I assume.
I would say, I'm not sure in the amount of like counts, right? But if we think about how acid the stomach is and how those the acids from
Acid,
those all the chemicals that are released to digest food, some of these bacteria will not thrive in those acidic environments. Yeah.
Is it different bacteria in different places along the gut? So, I mean, I'm assuming we have bacteria definitely throughout the large and small intestine and the colon, but are the species of the bacteria different as you go through your digestive?
That's a good question. I cannot say I know that answer.
Okay.
I imagine that it could be, but honestly, I'm not sure about that. If it's different, just specific by section. Yeah.
Well, we know the type of bacteria can go up and down depending on diet and stress, but you're asking where it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It is different.
It is different?
Different areas of the gut, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, it is different then. And which ones go in which, I will have to get back to you all on that.
And actually, with what the earlier person had asked, indeed, it is not an accepted theory that leaky gut syndrome is the cause of a lot of diseases. Because as soon as you allow the bacteria to infiltrate through the gut and then get into your system, it leads to diabetes, arthritis, cardiovascular diseases. So it's not very accepted. Based on what it's not an accepted. It wasn't a hypothesis for many years, but now it's really accepted.
Yeah. And it's because we are complex organisms and we don't know everything about what happens right inside. So as we discover more and more things that were hypotheses, now with all the growth in science, we've come to say like, this is a pathway to these other diseases, absolutely. So what are some of the benefits of probiotics, the live bacteria that we can consume? It can improve gastrointestinal health, it can improve nutritional status, especially the blood glucose metabolism, how we use insulin. It can help improve immunity, can alleviate inflammation and provide some protection. maintain, that balance in your gut, increase the mucosal secretion for defense against other organisms, and reduce oxidative stress and inflammation overall. So I really like this graphic from one of the research studies that came out in 2021 because it explains why gut health is so important as we age. So first we have a healthy adult, then we have a healthy elderly person, and then they analyze the gut microbiota of those who are 100 years old or more, and to identify like what's different. So we're gonna look at this picture closely. And if you see here, like these are a lot of like scientific names of different bacteria that may colonize the colon in different places. Okay, so if we look at the top part, we have that as part of our normal body process, we have inflammation because we need inflammation to heal. That's the way the body communicates that there's something wrong so that it can be repaired. The healthy adult has good homeostasis, or like good gut balance in here. But as we age, some of that gut balance decreases. So when that decreases, inflammation increases. So that's at the top. But then when they did the study on the gut microbiome of people who are 100 years old or more, they realized that their gut health was better than a healthy elderly. So their inflammation was less. So they were attributing that, to the environment, to less stress, to, fruits and vegetables, or like a healthier diet.
What did they define as healthy elderly? What age?
Oh, I do not recall the age of this healthy elderly. I will have to go back. And I can tell you at the end because I have the papers in my bag.
Okay. I'm just curious,
Yeah.
65 seems to be.
Yeah, 65
why
usually,
do we choose that date, so.
So here we see like different, squigglies, different colors. So as we age, we lose some of the good bacteria. Some of these are good. This is good bacteria or like beneficial. But then we have more of the harmful bacteria. So that's, that gut balance starts to get unbalanced. But then with the centenarians, they discovered that even though, they may have still bad bacteria or like harmful bacteria, they had more of that beneficial bacteria. And that's what was helping them stay in that better balance in their gut.
So, in principle, it is you have in the healthy elderly both a whole spectrum, and the spectrum that is very good to age long survives, and the rest dies off, and then you get your better balance.
Yes. So like the healthier the gut bacteria we have, the longer, that's a hypothesis here, like the longer,
Otherwise you can't get from one to the other.
Yes. Very good. All right. So dysbiosis has an impact in metabolic diseases like obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, because when we don't have a balance, when we have an imbalance in our gut, the harmful bacteria will actually increase the nutrients or the calories that are absorbed through the food. It will increase that inflammation. It will. Remember when I talk about the insulin resistance, insulin sensitivity? If we have insulin resistance, our bodies are not getting the energy to the cells that they need. So when our bodies don't feel that they have enough, energy that they need, what do? We eat more, right? Because our body's telling us like, oh, I don't have energy, I need energy. I don't have energy, I need energy. And where do we get energy? From our food.
One other thing that you don't have up there, I've been fascinated by, is multiple sclerosis being linked to microbiome. That the problematic, I forget how it works now, the more negative microorganisms are increased in those with multiple sclerosis. And that's my understanding. I was wondering if that's your understanding as well. That there's a lot of linkage between the two. 'Cause I think multiple sclerosis is not just with aging. I think it doesn't occur across the lifespan.
Yeah, I think
It does.
Yeah, it's a progressive disease. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like it happens similar to like Parkinson's also, that, it's a progressive disease. So a lot of these dysbiosis with these diseases, some of the mechanisms that have been highlighted in research is that they increase inflammation and they either aggravate the progression of the disease, meaning that the person progresses faster. For example, in Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, the disruption of the proteins in their brain happens faster if they don't have a good gut balance in there. So with multiple sclerosis, could be, because it's autoimmune, correct? It's an autoimmune condition. Our rheumatoid arthritis is also an autoimmune condition. So those are being linked now, the autoimmune conditions, with this gut dysbiosis that we talk about. As long as with IBS.
One of the big problems I have, and I think people in the field are having, because I get this back on manuscripts, is whether or not there's an association or there's causality. In other words, what comes first? Is this just a statistical association, or did the bacteria cause the disease, or is it just associated with the disease? I don't know where we stand on that.
I don't think we don't have a very definitive stance on that, because, for example, I've done some research with Parkinson's, and that was my dissertation.
On what?
Parkinson's.
Parkinson's.
And there was that question also, was it the gut bacteria, your gut that caused Parkinson's, or was something else and then that disrupt your gut? From what I've read, those questions are still being asked.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that at NIH, if you have a grant proposal and you don't address the causality thing anywhere, they're going to kill you.
Oh.
They want you to at least acknowledge we don't know what comes first, if there's a causative agent there. But it's a hot issue.
Yeah.
It's controversial.
It is, and like I said before, all of these conditions, inflammation will increase the symptoms or the progression of some of these diseases, but which one came first or not, it is still unknown. Yeah. So with dysbiosis also comes increasing frailty, so low energy, walking slow, not feeling good to do physical activity, all of that comes with or is related to dysbiosis as well, and inflammatory conditions of the bowels, so irritable bowel syndrome or inflammatory bowel disease. They can benefit from having more of a gut balance and from having more beneficial bacteria that can help them with the symptoms of the disease. Okay, so in the literature, they've identified foods that increase inflammation. Now, I'm not here to tell, I'm not here to tell anybody never eat these foods, because that is unrealistic. But somebody over the backs mentioned that the Western diet does rely a lot on processed foods and highly processed foods. And it's that reliance that, the imbalance of what we eat that also causes an imbalance in our gut. So, pastries, refined carbohydrates, increase inflammation, fried foods, sugary beverages, red meats, processed meats, margarine, lard, and shortening. Yeah, those can increase inflammation in our bodies, especially if we rely a lot on these foods, right? Because these foods will come and feed our harmful bacteria in our gut. And then if we rely a lot on this, our beneficial bacteria starves. They don't have food for them to thrive and grow and multiply. But the research has also identified some anti-inflammatory foods, like berries, any type of berries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, any type of berry are good because they have a lot of antioxidants, phytonutrients, polyphenols that help that gut bacteria thrive. Fish, nuts and seeds, especially walnuts, extra virgin olive oil, leafy greens, green tea, chocolate. Anybody here likes chocolate? Yes, but it is not any chocolate. It is 70% higher percent of cacao. So that means that even if something says dark chocolate, they need to tell, the label needs to tell the percentage of that dark chocolate for it to, count as 70% or more. And that is an acquired taste, I want to be honest, because it tastes very different from milk chocolate. And then herbs and spices, they provide a lot of these phytonutrients, and we're going to talk a little bit about that help our gut bacteria thrive and can help in a lot of processes in our body to decrease that inflammation in our bodies. So what are phytonutrients? So phytonutrients comes from plants, or like polyphenols can come from plants as well. Like imagine phytonutrients like an umbrella of all these maybe antioxidants that can help our bodies. They have different names. They have different functions in our bodies. But they can help us stimulate the immune system. They can block substances that we eat, drink, and breathe from becoming carcinogens. They can help prevent DNA damage, or when cells are replicating in an abnormal way, they can help by making those cells like commit suicide, like kill themselves so that they don't keep replicating in our bodies in an abnormal way. And it can help regulate our hormones. So phytonutrients, like, have you seen how plants sometimes have a smell? Have you smelled like maybe basil, mint? They have a very strong smell. Well, all plants, have their own smells, their own mechanisms to defend themselves against the environment because they also want to thrive. So some of those smells are to deter pests. Some of those phytonutrients are used in the plant to help them with sun damage, with drought, all these things that the plant goes through. So when we eat those plants, we get some of these phytonutrients that will also help us in our bodies to decrease that inflammation and to help the immune system. Okay. So different colors in research, they have grouped them by colors, by the phytochemical they have or phytonutrient and their health benefits. So for example, fruits and vegetables of color red have lycopene, ellagic acid, anthocyanins that they help with being antioxidants, so helping cells, be stable, anti-cancer properties, cardioprotective, anti-inflammatory. And for example, lycopene is good for prostate health. So, depending on what we're trying to look for in our diet, maybe try to include more of the colors of the benefits that we like to get can be a good idea. So we have orange and yellow. They are good for maintaining eye health, the skin, the immune system, and heart health. So for example, carrots, corn, papayas, they can help with those benefits. Then we have purple and blue. They help with longevity and anti-aging because of the phytochemicals that they have. They can help with cognitive decline and type 2 diabetes. So for example, blackberries, eggplant, purple cauliflower, blueberries. The green ones have chlorophyll, isothiocyanates. They can help with cancer, restore energy, again with your brain and recognition. And things like spinach, broccoli, green peas are good things to include. Yes?
Does it make any difference if they're raw or cooked in terms of the phytochemicals or phytonutrients?
Yeah, I would say it's better to have variety because sometimes when we cook some of these foods, some of these phytochemicals become more available for our body to absorb, but some others get destroyed. So like we don't get them in the same amount as we would if we have them raw. So like a good variety of both, it's good.
Or
Like-
you can steam some of your vegetables too. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I want to keep some nutrients active and so forth.
Yeah, like the cooking method, like take into account the cooking method, because the longer you cook, the higher the likelihood that you're gonna destroy more nutrients with it. So like steaming, it's a good
Also,
cooking method.
if you use some of the spices, it really accentuates the helpful things in the food, like cayenne and turmeric. Turmeric is very good for your gut. So it's used
Yes.
a lot in some foods.
Yes. Spices, like turmeric contains a lot of these phytochemicals that will help the gut. Absolutely.
And cayenne too.
Cayenne.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. And then we have the brown and white ones that they provide cancer-fighting properties, anti-inflammatory, but they're really good for the immune system as well, and provide some antimicrobial properties. For example, potato, mushroom, garlic, onions, all those kinds of foods. All right. Now we have the activity on label reading. Okay? For probiotics. So this is just, we're not talking about supplements, we're talking about foods that we can get at the supermarket. Okay, true or false? All pickles, sauerkraut, and kimchi contain probiotics. True or false?
True.
Okay. What if I told you that this is false, because not all pickles, all sauerkraut, and all kimchi are made the same way?
Then it would be false.
Right? It will be false. Okay, and pickling vegetables is the same as fermenting vegetables. True or false?
False.
False.
False. Yes, they're different processes. Okay, so if we have pickles or like pickled vegetables of any kind, pickle, sauerkraut, kimchi, that is canned or is shelf stable, right? Like you found it in the non-refrigerated section of the supermarket. It is most likely that for safety reasons in the processing, it was heat treated. And it is heat treated to kill bacteria that may spoil the food. So like heat treatments, like canning, helps actually, make the product shelf stable. So it lasts a long time until the consumer gets to it. If we want to get some of these foods, pickles, sauerkraut, kimchi, that have probiotics, we need to, one, check the refrigerated section. That's where they're gonna be. So some here talk about yogurt. Yogurt was very mentioned at the beginning, right? And where is yogurt found? Refrigerated section, right? Because those bacteria need to be alive. And so that's where they need to be. Look at the label that says contains live active cultures or probiotics, raw, live, unpasteurized, because these types of labels can help the consumer understand that some of the microbes that are there, some of the bacteria, is still alive. And that's why they're in the refrigerated section, because if we put them in room temperature, that product will spoil. You can see a cloudy or bubbly brine, okay, in the refrigerated section. And some of here say like you've tried kombucha, and if you like mix kombucha, that you can see if it's been sitting for a while, you can see a sediment at the bottom. But when you mix it, it's kind of cloudy, right? That's an indication that there is probiotics in that food. It only has water, salt, and vegetables of choice, because this is the fermentation process, okay? Because pickling vegetables requires other steps and other ingredients. For example, like vinegar, it requires maybe a heat process, sugar. In the ones that you may find at the supermarket, they may contain sodium benzoate, sodium bisulfate, lactic acid, food dyes to make it look better for the consumer so that they buy it, right? Or make it more palatable, or make it last longer on the shelf. And these ingredients can interfere with the fermentation process. So it can stop fermentation. It can actually kill some of the good bacteria that we want. All right?
Can you
Although, if you talk about lactic acid, it's actually produced when you have the live bacteria
Yes.
there. It's a normal balancing where you stop the ongoing fermentation process. So, if lactic acid is in there, does not necessarily say that they added lactic acid. It's the natural
Yes.
product
Yes.
of your live culture.
Yes, live bacteria can produce lactic acid, absolutely. But it's when it's added that it might be, like it's either like stop the fermentation process because it wasn't like naturally produced by the bacteria. Yes.
Can you make your own probiotic by like cabbage and water and salt and let it sit for
Yeah.
a while?
Absolutely.
You can make your own kimchi, no problem.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it would have all the probiotics in it,
Yes.
right?
I would say if you want to try, because you can also make kefir. Like I grew up, and I remember when I was younger, my mom had these little, I call them bugs, but they were white. She put milk, and then she would like filter it, and that was kefir. Like she was making kefir. I didn't know it at the time, and I was like, oh mom, that's gross, right? Because it looked weird. But now I was like, oh yes, that's what she was doing. So like you can definitely make some fermented products at home. I would just say, just make sure that you know the proper steps to ensure food safety.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the activity. We have this product. It has these ingredients: cucumber, artisan well water, salt, garlic, dill, spices, mustard seed, calcium chloride. And it says no preservatives, no added sugar, baby kosher dill pickles. Okay, do you think this food contains probiotics? Yes or no?
Is this real?
Yes, it's a real food. Yeah.
It's kosher.
I would say yes, because it says on the bottle to shake until cloudy. So you mentioned that things that were cloudy were fermented, so I would say this is fermented.
Okay. Anybody thinks different?
It seems healthy.
Okay. So yes. Now you might ask, like, well, but this one has calcium chloride. This one doesn't seem to impair the fermentation process as much as the benzoate and the bisulfate. So yes, this is a fermented product, like you mentioned, right? It is a cloudy brine, and it doesn't have like any type of preservatives that may, kill the bacteria. Because preservatives, a lot of the things that they do is they create an inhospitable environment for the bacteria to grow. So, all right. Now this one, kosher dill spears, Mount Olive. So I'm gonna read here. It says ingredients: cucumber, water, vinegar, salt, calcium chloride, 0.1% of sodium benzoate as a preservative, natural flavors, polysorbate 80, and yellow number 5.
No.
No.
No. Okay, and do you see any cloudy brine here? It is very clear, right? Okay. And it has yellow 5, to give it the right color so it doesn't, look unappetizing maybe, or, to help the consistency.
Is that going to be done away with the new administration?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because of the polysorbate and the yellow.
Yellow 5 is not on the list of FDA excluded dyes.
It's not on the
No.
list?
No. Like what of sorbate 80?
Polysorbate is no.
Okay. So is this contains probiotics? How did we landed on that? Yes or no?
No.
Correct. It has vinegar, it has the preservatives, it has the dyes. That all of these make it shelf stable.
So acidic too.
Yeah, very acidic. So probiotics might not survive in that environment.
And
Usually we have it in
the name is very suggestive. Mount Olive. There you think about Jesus, you think about all the context of the olive trees. No, but it's important. I mean, it's what we call the advertising of fallacy, the fallacy advertising. Because they put the name so charming,
Yeah.
Mount Olive. You think about the holy land. And what you have there is just now my question is, can we eat that or not?
Of course.
Yes, you can eat it. This one may not have probiotics, may not have the live bacteria, but this one has fiber in it, right? Like vegetables have fiber in it. So that fiber will be prebiotic, right? It will help feed your gut bacteria, but it will not contain the live bacteria.
And it's
I think they're really, when they call it Mount Olive, I think they're really hoping to capitalize on the ignorance of the American public. Because, what do you think, olive oil?
No, but it's a kosher product.
yes, of course,
So,
exactly what I want.
so it's associated with Jewish
Diet.
practice of.
So I consider that more Mediterranean.
No, these
No,
are
it's not. Kosher is
Oh, I'm
specifically.
talking about olive, what I'm saying.
Oh, olive, but
Oil.
if it says kosher, it.
It's not olive, or it's not oil.
It's not.
Well, it certainly causes me confusion.
Yeah.
That's,
So the first thing I went and did, when it says Mount Olive, I wanted to see if there was any olive oil.
Oh, okay.
Because there is a physical Mount Olive in Palestine. There is a physical Mount Olive. So, because that's the Bible as well.
Yeah.
This is the preservative is usually not good. At least I don't take anything that is preservative. Is there any preservative that is good enough to be used? Like, I mean,
Well, salt and vinegar can be preservatives,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
So
So,
that if it says preservative, it's real preservative.
like you mean like made in the lab and.
Right.
I wish I knew more about food processing, but some of the preservatives can be natural. You know, if they can be natural, like like vinegar can be named as a preservative, and it can, it's natural. Like, or salt can be there as a preservative, it can be natural. Now, which ones are the specific words that are created in the lab? That I will have to get back
It
to
doesn't
you on
say.
that.
Most labels won't say that.
No, that's not a part of the
I
regulation.
avoid everything preservative. So.
Yeah.
This
Well, I
is a
think
little-
some of the stuff that you see on labels are natural.
Yeah.
It's just not, I mean, they might not necessarily be made in a lab. They may be made in a lab, but they were first
Yeah, but they-
identified in a natural,
natural,
product.
yeah.
So sodium benzoate is probably made by some organism, and it's just then used in this way. So that's been my big problem when you look at labels and people look at these long words and go, oh, this is artificial, and it's no, that's the chemical name of a chemical that was actually made by some organism and where they're just using it here. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad.
Yeah, and like even like vinegar, water, salt, like they all have their chemical names. These are just like the names that for common names, right?
Right, if you put acetic acid on there,
Exactly.
people would probably
Yeah,
go,
they
what?
would, yeah.
Yeah.
Why am I putting acid in my body?
Yeah.
But vinegar is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What about this one? It says crowd, red beets, red cabbage, beets, and carrots. At the top it says live and raw probiotics, fermented food for all. Ingredients: red cabbage, beets, carrots, and kosher salt.
Be good.
Yes. This is actually a product that contains probiotics, and it also contains prebiotics because it has a vegetable and it has those fibers. And this here says always refrigerate. That's another indication that that product, the live bacteria, needs to be refrigerated to still be alive. And if you have not tried this one, I really like it. It's really good. I'm not making an ad for anybody. I don't get paid, but I tried this one and it's
Where
good.
do you buy it?
I got it at Hy-Vee.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've never had I had sauerkraut before, but not with the beets. So it actually gives it a nice flavor.
So you found it in the refrigerated section?
Yes, it's in the refrigerated section with all the kombucha and the kefir and all that section that's there. Okay, now this one, it says homestyle sauerkraut, fresh cut. Ingredients: cabbage, water, salt, sodium benzoate, and sodium bisulfate as preservatives?
No.
Yes, no, because it has the preservatives that may kill the bacteria. And where do we usually find these
On the
crap?
shelf.
The shelf.
On the shelf.
They say in jars like that, refrigerate after opening.
After opening.
Yes,
So
because it can
it's-
spoil after you open. But yeah, but you need to if you want for sure to have probiotics, they need to be already in the refrigerated section. All right, and that's all I have for today. Are there questions I can help? Yes.
Frozen vegetables, are they as good, I mean, basically as fresh in the processing?
Most likely. So like the process of to get those vegetables frozen is really quick. So it preserves a lot of the nutrients that the fresh one has. So if you want to think about which one will be better will be fresh, frozen, and lastly canned. Right? Because canned has been through so much processing that some of those nutrients that we want, they may not even be there anymore.
And it has some harmful, I did a lot of research on this because I eat very carefully. And the canned foods are the worst, that's what my research showed. And the frozen food are much better because the process is so quick. That there is no chance of any bacteria or anything. They've done a really good job of freezing. But, you know, if it's not been frozen for like 50 years, those would die sitting. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question and would like to have your opinion. I think it's still controversial. This business of GMO, genetically modified organisms.
Okay.
Now, as far as I understand from my readings, there is no corn available in Western world and especially in the United States that is not a GMO. Natural corn is not there at all. Is it true?
If there's no like heirloom variety of corn, you mean?
Yes.
I am not sure if there is. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not sure.
But heirloom not necessarily is a lot of what we call heirlooms are highly genetically selected strains of tomatoes or corn or whatever. GMO is really genetically modified, like a Monsanto.
Corn.
Yes, but Monsanto corn is not GMO. Is not genetically modified.
Oh, most of it.
Oh yeah. Most of the corn is.
You can't even.
So that you could spray beforehand and the corn would survive, the weeds would die, so.
Yeah. Corn is
Very
Oh,
much
corn is almost 100% modified.
massive effort on part of Monsanto to prevent the farmers from using the natural corn seed when they sent people to harass them in the farm, all kinds of things.
We're talking about feed corn now, not necessarily sweet corn, feed corn, yeah, for cattle.
Both feed and sweets, they are both all GMOs.
They're all GMO.
Isn't there gonna be kind of contamination no matter what though? And it's only a matter of time between now, probably 100% will be mixed.
Well, the contamination is in both, natural and GMO, because of our agricultural practices.
It is.
It is.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And even the natural can also be contaminated by the genetically modified, the natural. Because you have this gene jumping, from one to another one. Yeah, and then somebody wanted a fair price and that gene jumping, biology.
So from what we exposed today, I think the key word is variety.
Yes.
Variety, which means you eat everything and try to diversity and to have any kind of product, and not the same one every day, just to change. And our children should try to get out from the hamburger, hot dogs, and pizza. And even the adult. The other day was Sunday. I went to the restaurant, very fancy restaurant, and I see the people. They go there. They have a hamburger sandwich and a French fries. Why do you go to the restaurant to have French fries and hamburger sandwich? You can do that home. Now, Mediterranean diet. I saw that you didn't include meat. I mean, it's just a label because remember, I was born in Italy and grew up in France, and what we had beef meat, lamb, veal, pork, and horse,
And chicken.
And definitely
chicken, and rabbit.
Yeah.
But the point is, yes, we need to have this kind of wide
Yes.
spectrum. And now the other point, I'm afraid when you start eating the anti-cancer products, it's too late.
It's what?
it's too late.
It's too late. It's too late.
Well, like
And you know, I'm
for
going
survivors.
I want to be 75 before the end of October, and they told me this is the first half of your life. Now I'm wondering what I'm going to do with the second half of that.
You took his word seriously?
Yeah, but yeah, like variety is key, and especially the more colors you have in your diet, the more phytonutrients you will get. Different phytonutrients that will come and help you for different things. Yeah.
That information about the mucus layer was really fascinating to me. And I'm wondering if you start to eat better or more in line with the probiotics and prebiotics, can your mucus layer actually be made to look more like that? Like a good one.
Yes, yes. So like if you start eating more probiotics and prebiotics, more fruits and vegetables and the live bacteria, ideally, like, or in theory, if there is nothing else causing that degradation, like a special condition, that beneficial gut bacteria will start creating more short-chain fatty acids, and that will build up that mucosal layer. So there's actually been some studies that people have been on like a special diet, high in fruits and vegetables, but they've eating like 6 portions of fermented foods, and that diversity, like for like 6 or 8 weeks, and that diversity in their gut increased, and they had a better, gut barrier.
Okay.
So what is overall today, just on the basis of your presentation, what is the overall take home of your presentation with respect to obviously not only gut health, but with inflammation or inflammatory processes? So what's the take home?
Yeah, if I want you all to remember anything from today, will be the activity that we did. Like gut health is important. And where can we get more of these beneficial microbes? From probiotics. And if anything, I would want you to, next time you go to the supermarket, that you identify these products if you want to consume them. Like you have some knowledge on how to identify them better, so that you know that you are consuming, the live beneficial bacteria. Yeah, so like variety, gut health is important, but how to identify those probiotic foods.
And I'm sorry. The other thing is it must be emphasized that even though you specifically talk about gut health with respect to the bacteria, the microbiota in the gut, but you have microbiota in all organ systems that maintain the health of these systems. And in reference to the question I think you asked a few minutes ago regarding the repair of the lining of the gut, yes, it is very well established they can actually repair damage and guts. And so I mean, depending on where you actually start eating good in maintaining good nutrition. Just like people who smoked or people who drink alcohol, liquor, for a long time, if they stop at a certain age, everything can be repaired. The cancer that is actually induced by eating bad bad food relevant.
There some unhealthy behavior.
Yes, and probably all those can be repaired. Even smoking, people who smoked early in life and stopped after about 20 years, it's found that their lung cancer propensities decrease drastically.
Yeah.
So many things can be repaired in the body.
Reverse some.
Or reversed, yeah.
Good to know.
So at the very beginning, you
I have a few
put up
different others.
something about the gut and birth and all that. How much of that stays with you? In other words, is there any part of the biome that is hereditary or, and stays that way? Or is it all based on what you eat?
Well, the first colonization comes from our mother.
Right.
So that's why maternal health is so important. Before
And then?
and after, yeah. And even if they had like a vaginal birth or a C-section, that influences. If the baby was breastfed or formula fed, that influences some of the bacteria that will colonize your gut, because formulas are trying to replicate maternal milk, like breast milk, but they don't get close to it. They try as closely as they can, but it is not the same, right? So it starts with that, with your mom, and also some of the bacteria that the adults have around you, that the environment has when you are growing up, you are gonna acquire as well.
But how much of that stays with you no matter what you do?
Very little.
Yeah.
It's a very dynamic process. You see it, for instance, if people come down with Clostridium difficile, where they basically lose their full gut microbiome, and they sometimes reacquire their microbiota in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but sometimes if antibiotics need to be in the system to survive the situation, they need to do what they call fecal transplants. You take the fecal microbiome from another person and introduce it, and obviously not orally, and to reestablish.
What's your opinion?
Well, as we grow, there are different things that will affect our gut microbiota, because they don't live for very long. Like if we starve them, they will start dying. So like the environment, stress, diet, all of that can influence your gut microbiome.
So it's not, there's nothing about the structure of, when you show the various pieces of the biome that is residual. It all, by a certain time, is gone.
Yep.
That's what you're saying, Jake.
It's an ecology system in your gut. And if you push it one way, it will move, and if you push it the other way, it moves. So push it the right way.
And if you have a different diet, you can have different microorganisms.
Yes, exactly. And you may, Orisa was talking before, like if your gut barrier is very, very thin, there are more bacteria, harmful there. But as you start introducing more beneficial, then more of that beneficial bacteria is going to start colonize your gut. So then, that's one of the things about repairing, right? Introducing what we've lost. So that's why probiotics foods are so important, because they introduce different varieties of these beneficial bacteria. So the more variety we have in our gut, the better our gut lining will be.
So the negative things is not permanent. You can always
Yeah.
modify it and improve on it.
Yeah, you can
Take
improve
it
that.
as well.
What about, here the things that this disease is hereditary, cancer, many cardiovascular diseases, the parents or both parents were vulnerable to it, or so it has been transmitted, or there's likely high chances. So, isn't there any role of the bacteria there?
Well, I would say there is role in the bacteria, but also, like the nutrition we have. So, like, on our behaviors overall. If we,
Behavior is one factor.
yeah, like all behaviors, whether that is physical activity, mental health, diet, all of that will either turn on your genes for your genetic, predisposition to get a cardiovascular disease at 30 or at 60. So like it depends. And the more inflammation we have, more of those genes may or may not turn on.
So does that relate to what she was asking there? Right from the fetal stage, you have got some micro that carry through your system throughout. Now it's a different thing that you can lower the population so that they don't harm you by selecting proper diet and stuff like that.
Yeah, proper diet.
Adopting right kind of habits, behavior.
Yeah, like all these behavior, because even like physical activity can have an impact on gut health. Diet has an impact, like the way we manage stress, because stress in itself can, tell our brain can tell our gut, to create more inflammation, for example, or like, liberate different chemicals.
Or you got anxiety, different motility.
Yes. So like that connection, it's important.
Yeah, a friend of mine, whenever she has stress, she starts getting diarrhea. She's fine,
That's what I was thinking.
and if she has to go to the airplane to catch the flight, she starts getting diarrhea. She's sick and tired of it. At the wrong time, she gets diarrhea, but not related to food at all. And she just grows. She's always like that. And there's nothing you can do about it except eat bananas, maybe.
Or try Xanax or something.
Well, if it's like an emotional response,
Right.
like that will be the main, source that, like relaxation techniques or, like medications in sometimes, depending on how the person is, because that to me sounds more like a symptom of like something else.
Yeah.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
Going back to Ellen's past question about, is it inherited and does it continue? I think when you're born and early development, having the right kind of bacteria in your gut is really important. I say that because, you mentioned breast milk and the formulas, and there are different types of formulas depending upon what age of the infant. But I also had a friend who had a C-section, and so her daughter was given a supplement because she didn't go through the vagina. And when you go through the vagina, the baby gets covered and all this stuff, and part of that gets to the gut. And so, I think that our microbiome is going to change throughout life, but I think in early life, what types of bugs you have in your gut are going to be really important for your overall development.
Yeah.
You can wipe them out.
All right.
You need to keep getting
Well, thank you so much for having me. I have some publications that we have in Extension. Well, this one's not from Extension, but it's from the American Diabetes Association. If you want to take